it's Aurora and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Hello new person. I talk about books and writing, and last week I talked quite a bit about suspension of disbelief. It cropped up a lot in my review because my suspension of disbelief got absolutely trashed. So I thought it'd be fun to have a chat about it in a deeper way, like just suspension of disbelief. We're not really going to be deep diving into many books. So we're going to talk about what it is and what the rules are to make it work. So, starting out, what is suspension of disbelief? So, what it is just when us as creators say to our audience, and it doesn't matter the medium or the genre, as long as it's fiction, that's all that really matters. And what we're doing is we're sitting here saying, please just believe this. Go along with the story we are telling. And as readers, watchers, whatever, because it doesn't matter if it's a theatre show, a book, even a video game, we still suspend our disbelief for a story, as long as the story is good. We don't make that decision consciously, just as the writer doesn't. That's what I find amazing. We just sit there and go, I'm going to do it without thinking about it for a second. However, you can pretty much pinpoint the exact moment suspension of disbelief is broken. And it is when you're reading the story, playing the video game, watching the movie, whatever. It's the moment where you go, well, that's stupid. The second you call the story stupid, your suspension of disbelief tends to be broken. And you don't really get it back. That's the wild thing. Once it's gone, it is gone. So that said, we know there are rules to what makes it work. And let's get into what they are. Number one, characters have to behave in a way that is realistic. And that doesn't matter if they are human, werewolf, vampire, pixie, mermaid, whatever. They have to behave in a realistic way. So, argument's sake, the book that I read last week, in fact, you had a character who was forgiven at every turn by everyone, no matter what she did or didn't do to earn forgiveness. And it just killed it for me. It was frustrating because people don't behave like that. Even when you've got a vampire or a werewolf or whatever, they will have a way they behave. Humans all behave in their own little ways. We all have our own little foibles and things that make us who we are. And they will go towards it. So, say you're reading a book like a fantasy, and you've got a character who has gone from being this shy little nobody to suddenly they are leading an army and they are talking to their men, and suddenly it's like, I'm this amazing public speaker and everything's great. Look, you're not going to believe that. It's quite an extreme, but weirder things have happened. People suddenly mastering an art in, a day. It's not realistic. And it's frustrating. We just think, well, this is ridiculous. You might learn to be a great public speaker in, weeks, months, whatever, with a lot of work, if it's what you want. Realistically, you're not going to do it in 24 hours. Look, I've been doing this for 6 months. I did drama and theatre studies as a student, and yet when I first started out doing this, I had to learn how to talk to a camera. I know I was stiff and pretty wooden in my first videos, and I've chilled out a bit. I'm a lot more relaxed. They've got better. Please tell me they've got better. Anyway, right. But the crux of it is characters have to behave in a way we know is believable. If you've got someone shy, they are not suddenly going to be the life and soul of the party. If you've got someone who's the life and soul of the party, odds on they are not going to be the one cowering in a corner going, I don't know how to talk to pretty girl. Things like that. It has to make sense for who they are. And then, same if they're like a vampire or a werewolf, they still have to behave in those believable ways. They were human once. Even mermaids, okay, they're going to have their own little sort of system and society and things that make them a bit more them, but they're still going to have set ways they behave. So yeah, it's pretty universal. It really doesn't matter the genre. And number two, the rules of the world must be consistent. Now, as much as I say this is more for fantastical things rather than contemporary, it does go both ways. So for example, new Dream Harbour book comes out in May, so nearly in April. Not long now at all. A month or so? Anyway, if I was reading that book and suddenly there were mermaids, I mean actual mermaids, splashing around in the harbour, I would say, well, this is stupid, and I put the book down. Look, I don't know if there are, and I highly doubt there are, any mermaids in Dream Harbour because, you know, competent writer, not going to do that. I haven't read the new one. I haven't had an hard copy. You know, I'm not that kind of privileged here. Like, what, me and under 50 subscribers? Me and under 30 subscribers. They ain't giving me an hard copy for a review. Anyway, but it's true. If there were mermaids, we'd all sit there and go, oh, that's just fucking stupid. And we'd stop. Because there's never been any hint that it's a fantastical place. It's fairly grounded in reality. It's contemporary romance. It's not fantasy romance. It's not romantasy. So, yeah, we wouldn't agree with it. Same if there is a, you know, it's in a more fantastical novel or even a sci-fi. You know, there are still rules. You know, can this spaceship break the speed of light? Well, okay, there's got to be science behind it. There's got to be a way, and it's probably not sustainable for very long. You know, there has got to be rules. There are rules to every universe. You know, they are well, we know on Earth the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. It's little things like that. If you break them to tell the story, suspension of disbelief gets broken. Because, you know, you're just being lazy with the storytelling. And I find that frustrating as a reader. Not just because I write, but I've always found that frustrating. It's that deus ex machina as well. So, you know, someone's suddenly got a power that makes no sense with the world. It's too powerful. It's frustrating. I'm going to sit there and again, I'm going to say that it's stupid. Because it's like, clearly you wrote yourself into a corner and this was the only way to write out of it. Magical powers need to make sense. So do magical creatures, and their powers, or just their existence in general, has to make some kind of sense. There's got to be a bit of a magical science. Magical systems are there for that reason. And the last one I'm going to say that is connected to rules of the world is jobs. Do a bit of research. Now, I used to be a barista. They love setting romance novels in coffee shops. I have no idea why. It's one of the least romantic things I've ever done. So here's the thing. The amount of people running coffee shops that have late nights absolutely astounds me. Because here's the thing. I used to get up at like 5, half 5. I didn't even run the place. I was like a shift manager, basically, in the end. And I was up at, 5, half 5 in the morning to get in work for 6, half 6. Maybe 7 o'clock on the weekend if I was lucky and got a lie in. If I was doing the morning shift, which 90% of the time is what I did. I was always put on morning shift because I was the one who could walk into work. Funny enough, I'd come home about sort of lunchtime-ish. I'd have some lunch. I'd sleep for an hour. And then I'd go off and do all the errands that I need to do. You know, if I got asked to go out for anything, to see friends, you know, a date, anything. I had a partner at the time. I did not date because I was too exhausted. We just didn't go on dates because the thing is, by the time I got to go to bed, it's like 10 o'clock to get up at 5. So yeah, I'm always like, really? You're having late nights? I highly doubt it. It's just this weird thing that just always annoyed me. So, that said, I'm going to throw this over to you. What other things that have broken or break your suspension of disbelief in a story? Any medium, just go for it. So that's all I've got for you today. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please do give me a like. It's a huge help. It lets YouTube know that people enjoy my videos. And give me a subscribe if you haven't already, because it massively helps my channel against the almighty and very evil algorithm. And, you know, we all want to defeat that little fucker. All right, that said, I'll see you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.